as humans, we have three centers. We each have three centers. 5, 6, and 7s don't have more head than 8, 9s, and 1s. We all have equally much head and heart and gut. Then we have personalities which have over-identified with one of these, but that's another matter. As far as our equipment goes, we have the same amount of each of the centers as all the other personality types have. So we all have a head, and as a culture, regardless of whether, I think regardless of whether we're in South America or in Europe, we identify a fair bit with the head, with our thoughts, with our ideas, with our understandings of things, with various abstractions that we do, lots of that. So we have these functions of the head. Basically, I say basic, very, very basically, we have two functions in the head. One is the, like, I used to call that a simple constructive function, which is like the everyday head thing. You map out stuff, you understand stuff, you draw conclusions, you ask questions, you doubt things, or you get them clearer in your head, all that kind of thing that we do when we learn things, basically in school or wherever. That's very much a head function, and it's this constructive basic function of the head. And then there is a higher function of the head, an open function, which is more about clarity and actually not thinking as much. It's a head function, but it's not thoughts as such. It's more of a making yourself available kind of thing. But so still, whichever one of those two basic functions of the head we're referring to, it's about clarity, observations, understandings, seeing connections, structures, stuff like that. And the emotional tone, if you will, that this can create sometimes is like, we used to call it fear, we can call it worry, or insecurity, that kind of flip side of the head capacity, if you like. So that's a center that we all, regardless of type, use a lot. We identify with it a lot. We are expected to identify with it. We're trained as children to disregard instinctual impulses, or to disregard feelings, because why are you feeling that way? And I ask a 4-year-old, and the 4-year-old is like, what? I don't know. What? I don't know why I'm feeling this way. And they learn, this child learns that I have to offer a mental explanation for what I experience. And if I'm 4 years old, I can't do that, but I learn to imitate the explanations that the adults offer me. So we learn from a very young age to identify with the head and believe that the head is going to be in charge of all of this. And when we get down to the instincts, it's very much clear that no, the head isn't in charge at all, actually. But we like to think so, because we're humans. We're not just animals, you know. We're humans, and we have a higher mind and stuff like that. But as it turns out, yeah, well, we have that, but we have other stuff as well that we can't affect with the head. So the heart, a bit deeper placed in us. Again, we have equally much heart, regardless of which type we are. This is an emotional center, a feeling center. You might say the overview could be, it's about love, obviously. It's about relationship. It's very all-inclusive. The heart doesn't exclude. It can't exclude. It just includes. It's about unity, oneness. The whole oneness movement is very much a heart-based idea, if you will. It's about self-image. It's about self-reflection. And same way as the head, there's a flip side to this self-image, self-reflection kind of thing, and that's shame, or actually question self-worth, I'd say. But obviously question self-worth quickly turns into shame, because I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy enough. So again, no matter which type we are, if I'm an 8, if I'm a 4, if I'm a 6, I have this head and this heart. And yeah, so the gut, finally, or the instinctual center. It's also called the moving center, and for good reason, because this is where the energy lives. This is where the juice lives. This is like the fuel of us, or the engine, depending on which analogy you prefer. But it's like mind doesn't really generate moving energy. It generates other energy, but not like the moving kind where we actually get somewhere. Heart, same thing there. The gut generates the move that makes us mobile, literally. So here, if the heart's about love, we can say the gut's about being. It's about what's me. We talk about self-image in the heart and self-reflection. It's like, who am I and what am I like and stuff like that. In the gut, it's more about the fact that I am at all, and that I'm not you, I'm something else. If I'm cute or ugly or smart or dumb, that's, for later, that's for the heart to decide. But in the instinctual center, the focus is on being at all. It's about what's me, what's not me, it's boundaries, it's resistance to all kinds of things. It's about physical needs, obviously. It's about wants, urges, attraction, repulsion, belonging, my place in a group, lots of things. That is this instinctual realm. It's about sensing others in a sort of primal way. And flip side to all this, all the resistance and boundaries, is anger, which you've probably heard looking at the types. So that was a very brief overview of the centers, but just to see, the interesting thing for this course, at least, is that they came into being pretty much. I mean, I don't know, I wasn't there. No, none of us were. So, but I'm going to use like phrases like Mother Nature and nature did this and did that, and how this happened, we don't know, actually. But let's assume that the centers evolved in the opposite order from what I just talked about them. So the gut, the instinctual center, when life was like single cellular organisms floating around in the water, they had self-preservation. That's the most basic survival instinct we can imagine. That's the gut. It probably didn't feel love for other amoebas or whatever. So the heart came into being later, and the like neocortex quite late in the evolution. And the thing is, like, it's a bit like different computer program versions. If you get a new version of a word and you want to open an old document, that's fine. The newer version can read the old document, but when you want to save it, it's going to tell you that if you save here, it's not going to open it. You can't open it again with the old version. You can't read the new stuff because when the old version was developed, the new stuff didn't exist. And it's a bit like that with the centers, because physically, the people who have quite late been studying the centers physically and these 3 nervous centers, realizing that, wow, these are actually three separate brains. If a brain is a nervous system that functions autonomically and can make decisions and draw conclusions, we have 3 brains, actually, one in the gut, one in the heart, and one in the head, which we call the brain because we're so identified with this mental bit. But so the thing is, when the instinctual center came into being, there was no feelings to relate to it. There was no, mental chatter or reasoning or thoughts or whatever. So the instinctual realm it can send information upwards, but it can't really accept information from these later, more advanced additions. And this is actually a physical fact, because what they realized is most of the communication between the centers go through the vagus nerve, it's the 10th cranial nerve called the vagus nerve, and it moves mainly upwards. I think there's like 85% of it moving upwards. which means that it's very hard to, if you have a note, you react to something in the gut, you like something, you want to go towards something, or you want to go away from something, something repels you, and it's like, ugh. It can be a person or something yucky on the street or whatever, but it's not like you can tell the head to instruct the gut to like it. This man is very nice, because you don't like them, and it's like you can't make yourself want something that you don't want. You can't make yourself. It's like you can't make yourself love somebody that you don't love. It doesn't work that way. And this said, people say, oh, we can affect, you can affect your pulse or blood pressure or whatever. But very few of us can sit down and say blood pressure down, and then it goes down. It's like you have to be quite advanced yogi to do that. So what we do is we sit down and we imagine this beautiful beach, coconut palms, the most relaxing scenario we can imagine, and voila, the blood pressure goes down. But it's because we imagine things in the head, so we sort of trick the gut and the heart to respond in a way that we want. But tricking them doesn't mean that the head can instruct them. So it's important to understand that we don't really, we're brought up to think that the head rules everything, and it's not really true. But since we have three centers, we have a gut, and we have a heart, and we have a head, we can think somebody is revolting, and then we learn something. Maybe it's a colleague, and we learn something about them that we realize why they're so vile. It's like, oh God, I didn't understand this. And suddenly we feel compassion for them, and we feel we understand the situation. Our heart goes out to them almost physically. I mean, it's like, it's not literally the heart, but it's the heart energy going out to them. And so the heart can understand something that the gut didn't. And likewise, if we think, ew, you're disgusting, and we want to smack them across the face, and we know, and this is the mind coming in saying, well, that might not be entirely appreciated by the boss. And so we decide not to. And it's not like we have to do everything that the heart instructs us to do, or the gut instructs us to do. But it's not like we can dictate from the head what they're saying, what they're suggesting to us, if you will. There are occasions where we actually cannot even avoid doing it. It's like if we stand on the street and something heavy falls from above, we're going to move out of the way. It's not like we're going to think, oh, maybe this is not a good idea. I'm going to knock over that old lady standing there. It's like, oh, we don't care about the old lady. We'll deal with that later. We just want to go out of the way. And it's not, the mind is not involved. So there are some instinctual reactions which are like, we would say forcing in Swedish. I'm sure it calls it. It's like we can't not react to them. But usually we have impulses from the heart, from the gut, and we can choose whether to act on them or not, because we have all three. We have a mind as well that can say, I would love this ice cream. It's like, wow, oh God, it looks so good, chocolate. And then I know from experience that if I eat that, I'm going to have a tummy ache for the rest of the evening. So the mind or the head center is going to tell the gut, I'm sorry, you're not getting it, because this is a very bad idea. But it's not going to make us stop wanting it, or it's not going to make us stop having the impulse, because we think it looks good. So again, different, it's what we do, and the impulse is not necessarily the same. Often it's not. But the more we allow ourselves to be aware of the impulse, the less the impulses the less they need to sort of sneak out in various ways where we're not really aware of them.